For now we are hard-coding those values that are shown in here. This is the total amount of lessons of all courses that belong to a particular tag. So now we're going to dynamically calculate the amount of courses as well as amount of lessons inside of each tag card. I'm going to use additional span element, assign font bold class to make text bolder, and all we have to do in order to get amount of courses that belong to this particular tag is basically reference courses count field. But for now this is not going to be shown because courses count field does not exist on the tag object. So let's get back to index controller, and along with fetching tag objects from the database, I'm going to add additional field which is going to store courses count. So by calling this withCount method and passing relationship method name that we have defined earlier on the tag model, we can calculate amount of courses for the particular tag, and it will be calculated for each tag fetched from the database, and this count will be saved under courses underscore count field of each tag object. So just to make sure, let's print out one object from this collection, check result in a browser, and as you can see, among all other model fields we're seeing the new field courses count. That's what we wanted. So let's get back to the editor, remove this dump statement, and there we go. Now each tag card shows proper amount of courses that are related to the particular tag. In order for this technique to work, it's absolutely necessary to have relationship method called courses on the tag model to be able to fetch counts of related models in this way by using method withCount. And now we're going to the second part where we have to show dynamic value, which will be amount of lessons that belong to those courses. It will be total amount of lessons of all the courses that are related to a particular tag. And we're going to fetch it in this way. Right here I'm going to references courses relationship on each tag object. This is gonna give us course collection, and then we can use collection method called reduce, which takes callback as an argument. So the reduce method allows us to transform collection in a way that at the end we're only going to get one particular value. It takes callback that has two arguments. First one will be accumulated value that we are going to eventually return from the reduce call, and the second argument will be each object from the initial courses collection, and inside of this callback we can do any logic, and then whatever value we're going to return from this callback is going to end up inside of first parameter carry on the next loop iteration. In other words, this value will end up in the first parameter carry for the next collection item, and we're going to call this callback for each course, and just like that we're getting amount of each course and then adding this amount to the total amount inside the carry variable. But we also have to specify initial value for this carry variable, which we're doing by adding second parameter in here, which will be 0 in our case. We'll start from 0 courses, and then each time this callback gets called, we are getting amount of lessons that belong to a particular course, add this amount to carry variable, and we're doing so for each object from the course collection, and eventually we're gonna get total amount of lessons and then show it in the browser. And great, as you can see, every tag card has different value for the amount of lessons. Looks like it is working, but let's try to optimize it. For it, I'm going to install additional package called Debugbar. It will bring this analytical panel, which will show amount of SQL queries that are executed within a particular request to our application, how many models were created, and some other analytical information. So I'm gonna install this package by using Composer. Let's run this command in a terminal. And right after installation is finished, we don't have to do anything in order to work with this Debugbar panel. We'll just have to refresh the page, and in the bottom left corner of the browser, we're gonna get this additional icon by clicking which the Debugbar panel opens up. And right away we're seeing over 100 queries have been executed during particular request to our application. That's quite a lot. So let's figure out what is going on. It is most likely related to that expression that we have just written to get total amount of lessons of every course that belong to a particular tag. Because right here, when we're referencing courses relationship on every tag object, we're basically making database query to fetch courses for the particular tag. And just because we have 8 tags in the database, we are running this query 8 times to grab all the courses for each tag. But that's not all. Within this callback, we're still making additional queries to fetch amount of lessons of each course. So we are doing quite a lot of queries in order to get total amount of lessons. But thankfully there is a way to optimize it. Let's go back to index controller, and right here, along with fetching tag objects from the database, I'm going to also fetch all the courses that belong to every tag and amount of lessons in every course. We can specify additional relationships that we'd like to load along with the main query. Here we are specifying associative arrays. Keys should be relationship method names that we have defined on the tag model, and values could be callbacks that take query builder, where we can specify additional constraints, or basically do some other modifications of queries. For example, in this particular case, we want to get amount of lessons of each course, so I'm calling with count and passing relationship method name that is defined on the course model, which is lessons, and this way we can obtain amount of lessons of every course. And at the end, after running this query, each tag object is going to have courses property, which will contain collection of courses that are related to this particular tag. And additionally, inside of each course object, there will be field name called lessons underscore count, which will store amount of lessons of each course. So in our view, we don't have to make any additional SQL queries in order to get particular values based on which we can calculate total amount of lessons of each course that belong to a particular tag. So all we have to do in this case is to basically call courses relationship, which is not going to cause another database query because we have already prefetched all the courses for each tag in the controller. And just because now each course model has additional lessons count property which stores amount of lessons of this course, we don't have to do any additional calculations anymore, drastically reducing count of database queries. As you can see in the browser, amount of SQL queries that are executed within particular request to our application has dropped to 15. Right here we can also see that when we are trying to fetch courses from the database, we're also calculating amount of lessons of each course and adding those values to the result set. Alright, cool, we were able to significantly optimize our query. And the last thing that we are still going to do in this lesson will be related to pluralization. Because depending on how many courses or lessons there will be, we'll have to show course or lesson word in a proper form, singular or plural. And Laravel provides us with a way to show particular word in the form that we need to. Let's call method of on this str class. Here we're specifying which word we'd like to display in proper form and the amount which is going to be used to decide which form to use for this word will have to pass to this plural method call. So if there will be only one course, we're gonna see singular form of the course word, otherwise it will be plural. For now I will hardcode value 1 to see that course will be shown in a singular form. And if I'll use 2 or more, there will be a plural form used. Let's take this whole expression and also apply it to the lessons right here. We'll have to pass lesson word. In the first case, we're going to make a decision based on the course count field. And in the second case, we'll have to pass total amount of lessons of all courses that are related to a particular tag in order to decide which form of the word lesson to show, singular or plural. And that's about it. Link to the source code will be in the video description.